And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. And welcome. It's Tuesday. What is today? February the 9th. And I just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Still waiting on the big announcement. Not quite ready to release all of it yet, but hopefully by the end of this week. And yeah, had some technical difficulties this morning, so we started a little bit late. But hopefully you got the notification and the update. And so it may take a few of you a few minutes to get on. But at any rate, I'm, as always, excited to join you guys here in this space to have a little conversation about what's happening in the world of sports and in the world in general. Of course, over the weekend was the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. I really did have some mixed emotions about the fact that the game was played with fans because I'm really concerned about the spread of the virus and that it would be a super spreader event for people attending the game and then going back to their various parts of the country and being around other people. So, a little concerned about that. Oh, wait a second. Let me have a little power here. But, we will wish for the best. And as always, I'm going to encourage you to wear your mask, practice social distancing, and just get someplace and sit down, right? We're going to get through it and we're going to be able to be out and about. Just hold on so we can try to defeat this virus. I just kind of feel like we needed to start the show talking about that today. Let me also say, I thought the Super Bowl wasn't a very good game. I picked the Chiefs. I was clearly wrong. And actually, I was really more pulling for the Chiefs. I guess if I had picked honestly, I would have picked Tampa Bay, but didn't count now. I picked the Chiefs, and so that's what I have to go with. And it was just a dismantling, really. It was just a clinic by the Buccaneers, especially what they did defensively. And so I want to stop there for a minute and just talk about what Todd Bowles, who is a defensive coordinator for Tampa Bay, has done with that Tampa Bay defense, especially if you look at in the postseason. I mean, the Washington football team, Drew Brees and the Saints, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. They have really, they've really done a really good job of handling offenses. And he had a good game plan in place for what they would do against this Chiefs offense, Pat Mahomes, and of course going into the game. And we talked about this. The Chiefs were a little banged up front, right? They were banged up front in terms of having people, offensive linemen out, and they did not manage that well, And so, but I think in Pat Mahomes shows you why he's spectacular, but he needed some help, right? But you got to give credit where credit is due. Tom Brady, at the age of 42 or 43, to still be playing and competing at this level and winning yet another Super Bowl, whatever you think of him, you got to give him credit. I'm not a huge fan. I'm a fan of his talent because I recognize talent and I give credit for talent. But yeah, so he did the thing, right? But I was really glad for Bruce Arians and that staff. I mean, you look at his staff, I'm sure it's hands down the most diverse staff in the National Football League. He has Todd Bowles is his coordinator defensively. Byron Leftwich is his offensive coordinator. He has two women on the staff, one full-time assistant. He has an assistant strength training coach. And he's, Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles are both African-American. And so while those are not head coaching positions, he has done a great job of making his staff look like the league, really, or look like the country. And that is not typically what happens in the National Football League. So for that, so listen, it can be done. You can hire people who are just good at what they do and who are also Black men and women, and you can still win a championship. So let that be some sort of a message for the other owners, although I just don't know that it will. I think the NFL just has a long way to go. I'd love to know your thoughts about what you think, what you saw, about your thoughts about the game over the weekend. And yeah, I really was not a fan of the halftime show, right? I thought that was just, that was not, I was not pleased. I got it checked out of that. But yeah, I just thought that, and some of the commercials, when you look at over the weekend and to hear the National Football League talk about social justice and, you know, and not include Colin Kaepernick, like, I can't take you seriously. You don't really mean it. You're checking a box that you think is going to matter, and you're doing it because you probably should. But if you're not going to do it authentically, then just stop, because no one's buying it, right? I think that's the key. No one's really buying it if you're not doing it authentically. Anyway, so if you want to talk about the National Football League and the game over the weekend, I'm happy to do that. But NFL season's over. Now it is officially the off season for everybody. Okay, and now we'll see what teams look like moving forward. The Texans have come out and said, there's no way we're trading Deshaun Watson. They're just posturing, right? They're just saying that so that they can get the most for him. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it here again, and I'll probably say it again on another show. I really don't think the Houston Texans want Deshaun. I don't. I think they have at least enough sense to know that they can't have that position publicly, because it would make them look crazier than they look right now, if that's at all possible. So you just say, of course we want him. We're not going to trade him. What you're trying to do is work to get the best deal, that you can for him, because I believe the relationship is irreparable, right? It cannot be repaired. And for one, they haven't really done anything to prepare the relationship. Okay. They hired a black coach. It wasn't about hiring a black coach. It was about hiring the right coach. Okay. So let's not fall for that particular trap. It was about the culture. It was about the problems that Jack Easterby is causing within the organization. There is such a rift. And now they're firing people like the equipment manager, who's important, right? The equipment manager they fired last week. And he apparently had a great relationship with the players, especially with Deshaun Watson. So at every turn, what this organization is saying is, you are the help, we pay you a lot, you work here, you don't really have any equity here. That's what they're saying. Let me just tell you, because your actions really show how you feel. And their actions show that, dude, we pay you a lot, come to work, be quiet and just play. And if you don't want to do that, then we're going to fill our organization with people who are glad to be in the room, okay, and glad to just be treated like the help. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to get rid of anybody who has anything to say differently. So listen, mark my words. I had a conversation this off season with someone close to the team. And when they said to me, well, there are many who think that, or some or many, whatever. The fact that anyone thinks this is ludicrous, but that think Deshaun only has 3 or 4 more good years to play because of his style of play. I said, well, that's idiocracy. That's just not smart. He's a pocket passer who has the ability to run. What do you mean because of his style of play? He's not RG3. What are you talking about? And I said, oh, okay. That's that. And then when they announced Nick Caserio, the general manager, who, when he was asked, would you trade Deshaun Watson? And he said, he's our quarterback. He never said no. Okay. That really struck a chord with me. It stuck with me. The press conference was just a fiasco. It was a joke, right? And then they only took questions from certain people because they don't want to have questions from everybody or from people who might challenge them for real. They're going to ask the people who really you know, out there caping for the organization, masking around like they're part of the media. But anyway, that's a whole nother show. So I don't think they really want Deshaun Watson. They've done the absolute opposite of things that would want to make him stay and be a part of the organization. And so, yeah, I don't know what they're going to get for him. I guess what they're doing now is just kind of posturing so they can get the most for him. And as much as I like covering Deshaun Watson, and I live in Houston, and you'd like to see him here, kind of. On one hand, on the other hand, I really want to see him go someplace and be respected and have an opportunity to win, because he gives that to you on and off the field. He has what you hear me talk about often. He has that championship mindset. He brings that with him, and he makes people around him better. He invests in the community. He's genuinely just a good dude. Like he's a good teammate. He's a good dude. He cares about people and the community. And I'm not trying to put wings on him and say he's perfect, because there's no such thing. But he's the guy that you want to build your team around. He's the kind of guy you want as the face of your organization. And this organization does not. Now, they're not saying it, but all of their actions show we don't want him here. So even the way they announced the new head coach, and on the same day said, well, Deshaun has demanded a trade. Well, he had demanded that 3 or 4 weeks prior to that. But you thought the day that we've announced that we've hired this black man as the head coach, I mean, it's just what they're doing is just offensive, and it's insulting, and no one's buying it. And the few people who are don't get it. So that's enough about the Houston Texans, but that's my update. If you want to say there is one, they've hired someone very close to Deshaun in the organization, the equipment manager. Like, why you fired Mike? And here's the other thing, and I'm going to say this on the show. I think I've said it before here. I know I've talked to people off the show about it. They hired the coach from the Ravens, and he's never been. He was not a coordinator. He was on really no one's list, and he's 65 years old. He is a black man, and so good for him for getting a job. Although in his press conference, when he was asked about the challenges or how we thought about like minority coaches, how the NFL is doing with minority coaches, he said they're doing a great job. It's tough for me to take anything else he said seriously after that. But why do I think they hired him? I think it's a temporary fix. I think they thought, oh, we'll hire a black man so that, and then when Deshaun doesn't stay, we can say we did what he wanted. I doubt very seriously it was about hiring a black man. It was about hiring the right man. Let's be clear about that. And what they're doing is finding somebody who can come in and get the guy that they really want to take over the organization, Josh McCown. Now, that's what I believe. And I believe it because they actually interviewed Josh McCown for the head coaching position, and the team released it. It wasn't a leak. They told people. Like, we interviewing this guy for the head coach. He don't have any experience, but we're going to give him a shot. We're going to talk to him about the job. You already know it's somebody that used to be hired. And so I guess they'll be the good guys from the Bible Belt from the South. I don't know what they're going to be, but I don't think Cal McNair and Jack Easterby and now Nick Caserio, who's in the mix, I don't think they want Deshaun Watson to stay. Nothing they've done has said we want him to stay. And it really is about Cal McNair, and Cal hasn't done it. Cal has doubled down on Jack Easterby and said, this is my guy. It's more important for me to have Jack Easterby than Deshaun Watson, or maybe even JJ Watt and any number of other players. So good luck with that. We'll see how that works out. So enough about the Houston Texans. If something happens, pardon me, I will let you know. Let's talk about a team. Let's talk about what's happening in the NBA. The Houston Rockets have been playing well, but they had a tough loss last night on the road in Charlotte. They had just an awful fourth quarter. They scored 7 points in the fourth quarter last night. That's just a tough game. That's a tough one. I mean, they shot about 40% from the field. They shot 27% from three. From the 3-point line, they were 13 of 47. They put up 47 shots, made 13. They didn't even do well with free throws. It was just under 69% for free throws. They got out rebounded. They did have more steals. They only had 11 turnovers, but it was not their finest outing. Okay, it was not. So the final score was 119 to 94. Let me tell you what they do next. So they play tonight. They play at the Pelicans. They play in New Orleans at 6:30. So they're back in action, and let me pull up their whole schedule. So last night they were in Charlotte. Today they're playing in New Orleans. They have tomorrow off. Then they play Miami at home on Friday night before heading back on the road. They play at the Knicks on Saturday. They're on the road for 3 games, so they're gone for almost a week. This schedule, they're getting through it, and we haven't even seen what the NBA is going to do for the second half of the season schedule. They've only, have their games through like the first week of March, and they're talking about having an All-Star game, which LeBron voiced last week his displeasure with that decision. I totally get it. Guys didn't have much of an off season, especially those who were in the playoffs. So there was a short turnaround in terms of getting your body rest. It's not about like being on vacation and traveling around the world because we are in a pandemic, but it is about that time where you kind of get rejuvenated and give your body a break and get to do the things you do in the off season for your body. They didn't have a big window for that this year. And you're going to bring people together for an All-Star game. How is that really responsible? I agree I understand why why LeBron James is bothered by that. I think it's just not a very good idea. So, yeah. Let you hear a little bit from Stephen Silas, the Rockets head coach, about what happened last night. And I do want to go back to the game they had last night and just tell you a little bit about. So I told you about the 7-point fourth quarter. They had Victor Oladipo had 21 points. Daniel House had 13 points. He started last night. Jayshawn Tate started. He had 13 points. Remember, Christian Wood is out with that sprained ankle. Off the bench, Ben McLemore had 15 points. David Nwaba had 9. Sterling Brown had 8. So it wasn't their finest outing. But they're back at it tonight, right? So what's their schedule? What's their record now? They were above 500 finally, but now they're back 1 game under 500. They're 11-12. New Orleans is a 5.5-point favorite tonight. The Pelicans are 10-12. So, they've had a couple losses in this after having that great run of winning like 6 in a row. They have struggled a bit. Let's look at where they are in the West. So right now in the Western Conference, if the playoffs were to start today, they would not be in the playoffs, right? They are at number 10. They are not in the top 8. Denver has the 8th spot. Golden State is at 12-12. Houston's at 11-11. So they're 1 game behind Golden State, but there's a lot of basketball left to be played. I mean, this team could very well be a playoff team this year, but they're not going to be able to do it playing the way they played last night. And they got to get everybody back and get them healthy. So let me let you hear from head coach Stephen Silas after the game last night?
First question, Kelly Eco.
Hey, Coach, the fourth quarter, just 7 points there. Do you think it just came down to not hitting shots, or did you guys, without a true playmaker, really struggle out there in terms of getting things going in the half court?
Yeah, they picked up the pressure on us in the fourth quarter, and we didn't handle it well. We didn't have enough ball handling on the floor, and it resulted in isolations. It resulted in poor shots. They did a good job. They really picked up the pressure on us with their switching in the fourth quarter, and we didn't have an answer.
Jonathan Fagan.
When you're that short-handed and Vic is not on the floor, how are the guys that were in that mix supposed to attack that or deal with that? They're not going to do the same things the guys who are out were. What's the way for them?
Yeah, I mean, getting the ball at the floor quickly, not walking up the floor, getting our driving kicks, low side screening. I mean, if we know that they're going to switch, we have to have a better screening angle, so it's harder for them to switch. We just have to be a lot more detailed and kind of consistent with what we're doing when Vic's out of the game. But yeah, it was hard.
Brian Bearfield.
Coach, was it the communication on the defensive end that caused so many open shots from the three-point line?
Yeah, I didn't think we did a good job on defense. I didn't think we closed out like we're supposed to. I didn't think that we even started possessions in a defensive stance ready to play. I just didn't think we were attentive to the defensive end of the floor, and it just wasn't like some clips at halftime. We weren't even in defensive stances, and we have to have ball pressure, and we have to be in help, and it's hard, and we have to do both. We have to help, and then we have to sprint to a closeout, and we didn't do that.
Kelly Eco.
Hey, Coach, as long as Christian is going to be out, do you want to see more of, plays with DeMarcus Cousins in the high post, playmaking, and kind of flow from there?
Yeah, I mean, we have to allow Cousins to play the strengths. One of his strengths is passing the ball. One of his strengths is playing from the high post. Another one of his strengths is pick and pop shooting. So we want to make sure that he's in those positions so he can do those things.
Adam Spolin.
Steven, you talked before the game about trying to find a way to get offense without John and without Eric. But how much did not having them impact the defensive end of the floor?
It impacted a lot. It did. Those guys are defenders. We're one of the best defensive teams in the league when they're on the floor. They weren't on the floor tonight, and I didn't like our defensive approach. So we're going to need them tomorrow night. And we got to do a better job because we're not going to play defense. It's going to be hard for us to win games, especially without Seawood.
And that was Stephen Silas after the game last night. Good morning, Sylvia. Good morning, Lawanda. Welcome. That was him after the Rockets lost, and they were without Christian Wood. He's going to be out for a minute. Eric Gordon, John Wall, and as he said, their defense really suffered. And Charlotte really did everything right in terms of creating some isolation, and they just were not able to. The Rockets were not able to get it together. I mean, they had 7 points in the fourth quarter. You're not going to win games with those kind of numbers, and when you're not defending, you're obviously not going to win games not defending. So, hopefully tonight he has a couple of those guys back, John and Eric, because you're going to need them, like he said, to play defense with Seawood out. While Christian Wood, while he is out and he's out hurt. So that is that. It's almost time for spring training, although the White House and the administration has asked baseball to delay the start of the season because the virus is out of control. But teams are moving forward and preparing to go to spring training. And it's just, there's a lot of things that are really in flux and in the air. And here's what is clear. People are tired of sitting around. People want to do something different. I'm going to pull up some Australian Open information for you, see what's happening. And I'm going to go to the women. Venus is scheduled to play tonight, Venus Williams. Serena also is scheduled to play tonight in the second round. Serena is the 10th seed. She's still chasing that Margaret Court record. Will she get it in Australia? We will see. Trying to see where else. Venus won her first round match in straight set 7-5, 6-2. Serena won easily in a straight set 6-1, 6-1. Trying to give you some of the highlights from what has taken place thus far. Halep, who is the second seed, won in straight set 6-2, 6-1. Kvitova won 3 and 4. No real surprises. I was trying to see where's Sloane. No big surprises thus far. It doesn't look like. But it is the first Grand Slam of the season, of the year, 2021. And I know Venus is hanging in there. I know that Venus wanted to get in another Olympics. She wanted to play in the Olympics again. Of course, she's going to have to improve her ranking to be on the Olympic team for the Americans. So hopefully she's able to do that and get in that final Olympics and maybe, do whatever she's going to do after tennis. I mean, she and her sister have had an amazing career. Good morning, my dear friend Keisha. Keisha says, go Astros. I know, right? The Astros are, well, here's some good news. The Astros were able to sign Correa. That happened last week. So that is exciting for Houston, for the Astros and for Astros fans. And I think that fans really understood, although if you can't help but be disappointed that they were not able to keep George Springer, but you understand it, right? One of the downfalls of having all those top draft picks, those number 1 draft picks, and that if they actually do what you draft them to do, is difficult to keep them all because you just can't pay everybody, right? You can't pay everyone. So you're going to end up losing some guys. So that's unfortunate. They weren't able to keep Springer, but we wish him the best. He's just a fan favorite. But they got Correa, and you're right, and Michael Brantley, because there were people who thought that they were not going to be able to sign Brantley, that Brantley was going to go with Springer, but they were able to keep him. And so that is exciting, right, for these Houston Astros. Correa and Brantley. And those are big parts of this team. I am excited about Dusty Baker. I think that, with, a better situation this year, knowing a little bit more than he knew about what to expect, hopefully he'll be able to, work a little bit more of his magic. Because Dusty's a great manager. And I know there was a lot of talk last year that said he's the right guy for what's happening right now, coming in and having to pick up the pieces after what happened the year before, right? And with Jim Crane firing the general manager and the manager. But I always said that Dusty wasn't just good for this team during that crisis. He's just good anyway. And I really hope to the Astros get a shot this year. And they had some young arms. We saw it come alive late in the season. Some who kind of debuted close to the playoffs, and we saw what they did. So, I'm encouraged about the future of this Astros team, and have an organization that you really you're glad to talk about. So you know, I like what we've seen, and we'll wait to see what happens. But I'm encouraged about what the Astros might be able to do, and that they're keeping some of their core pieces and their core talent. That's super exciting. Also, the Houston Rockets. You know, this Rockets organization. Let me say this: Rafael Stone, who's the new general manager, has quietly done some really good work with this roster, right? He came in, the previous general manager left, the previous head coach said, I'm out, deuces, I'm going to the East. Russell Westbrook wanted out, he was gone. James Harden, you know, was refusing to show up and be a grown-up, and he wanted out. And every team in the league knew that James did not want to be in Houston. And he even got to the point where he was publicly insulting his teammates. And Rafael Stone was still able to get a really good deal for James Harden. And I say that because when people know that you really have to move a player, then you lose some leverage. But he got all those draft picks. He's got a few players. I mean, Victor Oladipo has been a great pickup. I mean, and look at some of the moves he made in the offseason. Christian Wood, that was a great pickup. Look at what you're getting from a Jayshawn Tate. And of course, John Wall came over in the trade for Russell Westbrook. But I just think he deserves some credit, actually more than some. He deserves a lot of credit for what he's done with this roster so far in some really trying circumstances. And because he has so many draft picks, he can do some other things. I mean, he may not be done. You know, he may make some moves this season, depending on how competitive they are. I think it's smart to wait to get closer to the trade deadline to say, do I want to do anything this year? You know, how good can we be? Or do I want to hold my draft picks and package them and bank on some stuff next year? But you can pretty well bet that he is looking at all the options. So I like what Rafael Stone has been able to do so far. And, you know, I like Stephen Silas. I think he's come in and in an environment that was just craziness at first. You had people that didn't want to be here. It's creating tension in the locker room. And by the way, you're still playing in a pandemic, and you're still dealing with COVID and having players out, a new system, a new coach, a new general manager. But if you talk about on the floor, a new coach, a lot of new pieces, the face of the franchise for the past, 7 or 8 years is gone. That's a lot to manage and do at one time. And I know some people say, well, that's what he's paid for. He is. But a lot of people are paid for things they don't do well. So I really like the direction of this Rockets organization. You know, they've got to get some things together. They've got to be able to be healthy and have guys on the floor for, you know, stretches of time, games. They miss Christian Wood a lot. And then when you have Christian Wood out, John Wall out, and Eric Gordon, you lose a big part of your production, definitely defensively, and then on the offensive end. So, but I like what we see. The team in town that's kind of like the, you know, I don't even know the word for them. Like it's the Texans. Like, what are they doing? You know, what are they doing? But, you know, we can say, well, we do have the Astros, and we also do have the Houston Rockets. Those things are exciting. So this is something else I wanted to mention to you. I'm working on an interview. There's a program called, let me look it up before I say the wrong thing. It is called, it's called Gold Star. Let me look it up. I've got to find it for you because it is a program that I think everybody should know about. I think you should know about if you have kids. Namina Horna. What is the name of the organization? I'm working on getting her on the show. Namina Forma. And I just heard her talking about, that's not it. What is the name of this? It is it's more than just a savings app, if you will. It is Tanya Van Court, that's what it is. She used to work at the Discovery Channel. She worked at Nickelodeon. And now she is it's called Goal Setter. Okay, I could not find it. So the organization is called Goal Setter, and it's really a money app for the whole family, but it's really great for kids. I want to bring her on so that she can talk about it. There's a big push. They're trying to draft, if you will, 1 million kids and 1 million kids of color. And what they mean by they're playing on draft because they got the NBA. And Chris Paul was one of the first people that said, I'm in. And so he drafted 100 young people. And what that means is they created not just these Goal Setter accounts, which is a savings account. So it's better than giving them like a debit card or something, because there is savings, but there's also financial literacy and education with it. So if you get a young person this account, then they get to learn about not just savings, but a little bit about the market, about compound financing. And they start to learn that they understand finances at a young age. And then they get these lessons and these tutorials and sometimes videos along the way. So they're getting, a place to save money. So if you have a young person in your life, maybe you don't have kids, but you have young people, you want to get them involved, then, okay. Sorry about that. You want to get them involved in their own financial future and make it fun for them to learn. It also helps them with their math. It's just a great opportunity. Like, okay, this is my niece or my godson or my neighbor or my daughter or son. They've got a lot of toys and gifts and clothes. What other things could I do? Why not put them in a position to be successful, to start them early understanding about their finances so that they're not getting cards that end up creating debt for them, or they just talk about spending, but they learn how to save, and then they learn about finances for the whole family, right? So I just think it's a great way to help American families and young people become financially healthy. And so it's called Goal Setter, but I am working to get Tanya Van Court. She's the founder and CEO, to get her on the show. It's the world's largest professional, let me see. And it's called goalsetter.co. So you can go online, right, and look it up, or you can download the app. It's on, it is available on iOS and Android, but you can also go to goalsetter.co and get all the information, but it's definitely something. I mean, these are the kinds of things I encourage us to get involved with. I mean, it's coming up to Valentine's Day. Maybe you want to give a young person something for Valentine's Day. This is a great thing to do, if you, because especially if there are kids who are not they're not getting that financial literacy information in their household. And here's a cool thing about it. So you can go on the app and you can set it up and you can gift it to someone. Or you can set it up and then invite the young person to join. Maybe the person doesn't have a parent. The mom or dad doesn't have great financial literacy skills themselves. And so you can actually manage the account and the relationship. So you could set it up with, say, Susan. And so you could be the person that is managing the account and helping Susan, and Susan's getting rewarded when she plays some of these quizzes or does well on some of these quizzes, plays these games and gets the information, passes the quiz about all sorts of things. So they make it to where it's fun for young people. And it is also, it's just a responsible, empowering thing to do for our community. So I encourage you to check out goalsetter.co. It's a financial technical company, right? So it's combining finances and it's combining tech because that's where all the young people are, right? Quite frankly. So yes, why could you say, well, I could just get them a savings account. You absolutely can, but why not do better than that? Give them an account with an entity that is focusing exclusively on kids, right? That's their focus, and it's run by an African American woman. So, most of the financial tech companies are run by white men because let's face it, who gets the funding for that? So I say a couple of things. We can support someone who cares about our kids in our community and is doing the work, and we can introduce our kids to something that will be good for them. So I just encourage you to check out it. Goalsetter.co is on the screen. And I'm working to get Tanya to join us on Chalk Talk. And I have a big announcement, but I can't tell you yet because I'm still working out the details. Hopefully by the end of the week. If so, I will pop on and tell you guys about it, but definitely soon, definitely in the next week or two. I'm hoping by the end of this week. So then, anyway, we will be able to do some fun things with this announcement that I'm waiting to finalize so I can share it with all of you. So as always, thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. Thank you for always supporting, always showing up. Remember to share the video and invite your friends to be a part of the show next week, Tuesday. And so today we had some technical difficulties, right? That's what happens with technology. It's kind of like live TV, but it's digital. And so we just had to push the start back a little bit, but I'm glad that you hung in there and you showed up. And for those of you who watch the show, the recording, I have people that say, I love the show. I like to watch it. I like to watch the recording. So for those of you who are watching the recording, you don't really realize that we had technical difficulties and we had to push the start time back. So I will see you all next Tuesday, and be on the lookout for the announcement. When I'm able to release it, when it's finalized, I will share it across all the platforms. You guys will be the first to know. And as always, I appreciate you. Remember, wear your mask, practice social distancing, sit down somewhere, right? Stop moving around so much. Make sure that you're practicing great hygiene, washing your hands, using hand sanitizer. And remember, do something kind for yourself and something kind for somebody else. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday.